Calgary is one of the younger markets, which means that if you're looking at the essential part of whatever your business is, people, this is a great place to be. And if you're trying to be a global business, again, as we said, you can be anywhere in 24 hours. But it's the innovation, it's the motivation to help, it's the being able to be a part of a community that helps spur on other organizations.
It's Monday and time for the Back to Business podcast, featuring Calgary's industry leaders, insightful and inspiring conversations with founders, CEOs, entrepreneurs, and philanthropists who help shape our city. Heralding from the Calgary Petroleum Club, connecting Calgary's business leaders since 1948. In the spirit of reconciliation, we acknowledge that we live, work, and play on the traditional territories of the Blackfoot Confederacy, Siksika, Ka'aina, Piikani, the Tsuut'ina, the Eahe Nakota Nations, the Métis Nation Region 3, and all people who make their homes in the Treaty 7 region of southern Alberta. Welcome today's show host, Kim Hayden.
Today's guest is Kevin Gregor. Kevin grew up in Sherwood Park and graduated from the University of Alberta with a Bachelor of Commerce degree and is ICD certified as a director. Kevin began his business career with Xerox Canada, and after a successful career, he left to join Relies in Canada, where he rose to corporate vice president, business development for Canada, until he left in 2005 to become a leader in executive search. Kevin is now a managing partner with DHR Global. Kevin has served in a variety of public and non-for-profit boards and was a founding board member of Bow Valley College. Hi, Kevin. Welcome
Hello.
to the show. I'm so excited to dive into everything with you. I mean, honestly, Kevin, your experience and your involvement, not only in the club, but in the city is so huge.
Appreciate that.
So let's do this. We're going to reverse engineer this just a little bit. I usually ask, tell us about how long you've lived in here. We're going to get into that. I'm going to ask you, what are you working on today for our amazing city?
Oh, there's some interesting projects that we've got. A number of board assignments. We're going to be helping everything from an unnamed oil and gas company find some of its next board members to working directly with Prostate Cancer Calgary to help them identify some board members. Would be two examples in that space. We're also working right now with the University of Alberta, helping them to reshape what they look like, including today I'll announce 3 new first ever created deans and vice provosts of the gathering of all the schools. So post-secondary has been a big part of what we're doing as well, but a combination of corporate, social services, and government.
Post-secondary. You're kind of on the front of a lot of things that are shifting. Do you ever feel like you're standing on a little bit like the whole ground underneath you is moving? You're always navigating because you work in executive recruitment.
Yeah.
So, and we know that the world is going through huge shifts. Like we've seen globally, what do they call that? The recession, the second and third recession, a generation recession, where a lot of people were not going back to executive positions. So let's dive into that. So we know that your nonprofit, your volunteerism, your involvement in the redevelopment of our amazing city is there. Walk me through what you do and how that impacts our city.
So on the volunteer side?
Both volunteer and your business, because I find you very interesting that you have both a nonprofit and a capital, you know. So walk me through that.
So, it's sort of our belief at DHR that one of the things is that, we have to live in a great city. We have to live in a great province and a great country. And those are made of collective things. It's not just all business, and it's not just, make money. Some of it is the infrastructure put behind us. It's the education that we train our kids and our family members with. It's the support systems that things like the Petroleum Club give. And so to really make the city better, we're in a position that we can help introduce our city to new people. We can also help people arrive at their dreams and their career aspirations and try to keep some of those great people in Calgary. And so I find it really rewarding if you get a young person that's trying to figure out their first job, or a senior person that is trying to give back. And so in either of those ways, I think we have a role that we can play and help to direct those people into those types of roles. And so that's really the motivation behind it. Some of our competitors will only work in those make the money kind of thing, and I've never been that. I think that for my own reward, it's watching that person, achieve their own success in their own career and reach out to where they're going. So that's part of the motivation.
And you've been in Calgary since 1991.
Correct.
You've seen the ups and downs.
Multiple.
Give us multiple. Give us kind of your what your barometer. What are you thinking? Where Calgary's at? Where it's going? Where just kind of give me your thoughts.
I think we're actually poised for some really great things, and I see it from a couple of lenses. I think number one, there's opportunities for my kids, for example, to grow and stay here and move into new industries. Calgary also, I'll talk from that perspective, still is the second largest head office center in Canada. And as a result of that, we will avoid some of the challenges that other centers have because we will grow. It's true that we've been in a transition and we're sort of shifting from dominance of maybe one industry to others. But what people don't see, for example, my time on the Airport Authority, when we were on that board, we brought, a whole, focus point to bringing everything from transportation and logistics to here. We are a large transportation logistics hub. I think the focus then was on financial services. We're the second largest financial services center in all of Canada and one of the top ones in North America. I think, the energy speaks for itself, but it's now the transition. And you're seeing the transition to technology, and you're seeing everything from, supporting the energy sector, which is not a bad thing to do, but to clean tech and clean energy and things like that I think Calgary can lead in. And then the tech part that most people aren't seeing is the switch that's moving to ag tech. And so ag tech is going to be a big part. I was just writing it
down. We are ag leaders. We are ag leaders, and we are conscientious.
Correct.
Ag leaders. That's what I really love about Alberta and what I'm seeing come out of here is a thoughtfulness to everything that we're working on.
It's also a mix because it's not just, so we've worked with some of the great groups like Kane, and we've worked, which is a funder of tech, and we've worked with some of the venture capitalists and things like that. And what I see is this motivation that's there. And I think agriculture is becoming one of those groups that are, it's being sort of quietly there, and we've been leading in it, and we see it through the Stampede sort of once a year, but it's becoming an underpinning of our success. And one of the entrepreneurial spirits of Calgary is, how do you take something and move it? So how does AI affect ag tech?
Yep.
And how do you look at kind of what we've done right for geomatics for the energy sector, and how do you move that into a realm of reality for agriculture that then helps feed the world? So I think that what's great about Calgary is that we've got this intergenerational play, that we have, the great experience of a Dick Haskane still here to help us, but we've got the young Mark Blackwells coming up with their investment strategies and where do we move it. And we're one of the few cities that kind of group can get together and talk and meet and come up with new things without casting judgment. And so I really find this is the place to be if you're motivated on making a difference.
Motivated on making a difference. I love that. Do you sleep? Because I'm going through all the different boards in my head. So you have been associated with Calgary Stampede, Health Trust, the Alberta Economics Development, the Chamber of Commerce, the Calgary Education. Literally, you're touching everything. Why?
Well,
why? Because you have a family and everything.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people out there that they don't have time because maybe there's a new Netflix series or maybe they're tired.
Yeah.
Right? Tell me about what is the driver for all this incredibleness that you've contributed to the city.
Well, I appreciate the nice comment, but there's lots of role models that have sort of led the way for me, and like I said, the Dick Haskanes and the Ron Southerns and the Jim Grays and people like that have been very much ahead of me in doing this. And I can remember having met with each of them, and the key message from each of them: do what you can do, but you got to give back to your city too. And if you do, the city will look after you. So make it clear, my priorities are family first, paying job second, paying board third, and volunteer board, fourth. But I've also gained richness out of every one of those experiences. And so as I sat on my first boards in my early 30s, I gained a lot. I can remember sitting at the airport authority and having, these now legendary people in the Calgary economy sitting across from me, or watching how they talk and making decisions and then participating with them. So I also learned that, I can participate and I can add value too.
Yeah.
So the timing that I spend on the boards maybe gives back, but it also gives me a lot. And it gives me a refreshed look at maybe now how younger people might be thinking about something, or then how, like Bob Ron was looking at how to make a decision at a time that, I needed to start to formulate that. One of the things I love about Calgary, and I've always loved it, and about the Petroleum Club, we are a great city with great gathering places like the Petroleum Club. And what we are able to do is share and generate new ideas and new thoughts, and not lose that. And so I think that, my original outreach, I got pulled into a lot of these things, but it was allowing me to meet a wider circle of people, which then naturally, when I left my Xerox world and got into the world of search, was sort of a natural sort of progression of working with people and trying to help them. And so that's been part of my nature. And I've gained more out of it than I think I've ever given. But, again, it's sort of a timing thing.
They say if you want to get something done, give it to a busy person.
Well, possibly.
Well, that's kind of the running joke there. What I wanted to talk about, so you just mentioned something around Xerox and all of the training. So you're originally from Saskatchewan, and with the evolution of where Calgary's going, because it's crazy. It's we're seeing things like Thin Air Labs is coming up, and we're seeing that that cross pollination between the what would be tech in oil and gas that is actually, like you were saying, coming into our ag. It's coming into medical. It's coming into so many different arenas. What is something that you learned within your Xerox days? Because anybody who knows what Xerox knows that they have probably one of the best training systems out there for their key I want to say partners, but key principals within their industry or within their company. Can you share with us what you think you took from that has helped you move forward? So,
one of the key things, and there's a whole process around it, but it's about listening. And we were trained at an early age to go and understand what was the situation, what problem was created because of that situation, what was the implication of the problem, then what is the need payoff, and how could we help it? And so in taking that approach, instead of just trying to pitch an idea or to tell somebody what the answer is, one of the things I think I've tried to benefit from is understanding where the other person or organization is coming from, trying to get to the right level of what the real problem is and not what they think it is, and then trying to find a solution to it. So in the Xerox days, we helped bring outsourcing to the market. In my world today, people and people skills are what most companies will tell you is one of their biggest challenges. And so if you're talking about one of the biggest challenges of that, then that skill I learned at Xerox is allowing me to sit with a CEO or a vice president of HR or a board, trying to let them tell me what their issue is and how can I then help them, taking my skill sets to do it. The other part is I learned a lot in some of my first assignments, whether I was in Fort McMurray or Yellowknife on my own. I got a confidence that you could talk to a deputy minister when you're in your 20s at the same time as a mine worker, that we had things in common. So I was able to bring a look, I guess, at a relatively young age about, people are people. And if you can find what the common problem is, you can find a solution. And it doesn't matter if you're 25 or you're 65 or you're 75. you will add something to the conversation. But the art that Xerox taught me is to how to get it on the table. And then if you can listen, you can find a solution. And it's not normally one you have on your own, but it's something new that's developed between you, the person you're talking to, and maybe the support team that you have working around you.
You touched on youth and confidence and listening and having those conversations. And work with me, folks, here. I'm going to kind of bring this around here because I really feel that, Kevin, you are kind of, you have a perspective that is actually the entire ecosystem. So where Calgary has been since 2015 is we got hollowed out a bit when, especially with our young families, having to leave or trying to find other alternatives. Now we're starting to see people come back. Calgary is historically the youngest city per capita in Canada. So we have opportunities. As you said, it's the second hub for headquarters. We have a high percentage of white-collar, well-educated, younger people. When we take a look at this and we take a look at what's happening now, and then we take a look at your professional insight and professional recruitment, we have this odd thing happening in downtown cities around the world. Like there's some cities are being literally hauled out from their downtown core from commercial. People are not returning back to the office. And yet the offices over the last 30, 40 years have been that kind of social network. First of all, how does an entrepreneur who is at that executive level, who is not going to go back into a commercial space, how do they network? How do they get out there? How do they get connected if they're coming to the city new? And the second thing is with all of your work within the city, economic development, knowing all these people, what are some ideas that you have around keeping our downtown viable and vibrant?
So lots of questions.
Sorry, you know what? I am so excited to have you here because really you have such great overview of so many different areas that are very, very impactful in Calgary.
Well, let's hope I can give you some thoughts. And
start with the young people. How
are
they?
I think there's a couple of things, and in young or old, one of the common things that I'm seeing is that people want to be involved, and they don't know how. And so whether you're young and you're 32 and you're saying, I want to get on my first board, or you're 55 and you say, I want to get on boards, I hear that a lot. And really it's code to me that saying people want to add value, they want to give back, and they want to learn. And I think there's book learning and there's experiential learning. And the normal person wants to learn and continue to evolve and do things, whatever their age and stage is. It's about getting, people in the right place and connected to the right person and being able to help that. And so if you're young, no different than if you're older, I think what you want to do is put yourself out there and bring a skill set that you have in it. So for example, when we look at board placements, I can tell you that one of the trends is that most boards are saying they want someone under 50. And why? Because that's what their target market looks like. I can tell you that you're looking at all kinds of diversity when you're looking at a board. And why? Because that's what their target market looks like. And then as they get inside of diversity of thought becomes the real answer, because we're hearing it from different people and from different backgrounds and skill sets. And when you can get to a point that you believe in that and you accept that, you will get a better result. So then how do you get there? I believe it's about being involved in its little steps. People want to go on a board are not going to be on the Bank of Canada or the Royal Bank First Board Out or Suncor. They're going to be involved in their community. They're going to be involved in sports. They're going to be involved in whatever their passion brings them. And I encourage that. I also think that there's a place that we can add value on crown boards. And a crown board to me is one that's backed by the government, whatever level, civic, provincial, or federal. But one of my best experiences on a board was when I joined the Airport Authority, which is a crown board. We got to understand and make decisions that help shape Calgary and Alberta. But the beauty of it was I was learning from some people that had come before me on how they made decisions. And I was giving them input as a younger guy saying, well, as a business traveler, this is what's important to me. And we got to a better result. So that diversity of thought comes through when you do those kinds of things. So the involvement means getting out there and maybe putting yourself out there, joining the petroleum club, by coming here and meeting with others, or being seen talking to people and saying hi in the lounge for breakfast is a great way to help build that social network. Attending things. Calgary Economic Development are going to have their, in April, they're going to have their meeting about here is the state of Calgary. Be there. Not just to hear the message, but to intermix with the people that are there now that we're coming out. You made the comment about people not wanting to come into the core or doing things. I think it's a pendulum. I think, we were, all tied into office towers, and then we all went away, and then I think people wanted to try to find it. I think there's a blend. I think we need to find ways to interface, to create culture, to create value, and to add back. And so you're seeing also some of Calgary come back into downtown. And maybe it's not the 5 days a week, maybe it's 3 or it's 2, but I think there's going to be flexibility in that. But being here doesn't mean just work in your office. It means also get involved. And I really encourage people to be involved in 1 or 2 things, because like me, they'll enrich their lives by not their job every day. It's by that social network that they'll create, the network and connections that they'll make in the other things. And they'll be rewarded because they'll add value. But don't do it for the purpose of self-promotion. Do it because you believe in it.
Exactly. Be of service.
Correct.
Be of service. I think that's the one thing that it was funny, because when we first came to Calgary, my husband had lived in Toronto for quite a few years, and I'm originally from Wichita, Kansas. I talk to everybody. I don't know if you gathered that, Kevin.
You're friendly.
I love human beings. I think human beings are, and I feel so blessed and honored when somebody shares their time and their insight and their conversation with me. And I remember my husband coming back when we were moving here in 98, 99. And he goes, I forgot. It's like the land of Care Bears. You're going to love it. He goes, you go to the bank and you get a full story. And I think that's something that's very cool, that I still see people taking time for other people here. Even though since I've moved here, the city's gone from 750,000 to 1.2 million people. Like, we are growing, and we're going to double again. I just don't see that mentality changing. I see that we care.
Yeah, and I think, what's great is the venues that people have, like the Stampede. 2,500 volunteers that aren't paid to make a difference and promote our city. That's an amazing thing that's going on. The White Hatters at the airport are an amazing, tool of welcoming people. But I also tell you, it's in the executive team. And one of the things that always amazed me when I first moved here in the 90s is you didn't know who was the president of oil and gas company or who was the oil worker if you went to Stampede. Everyone was wearing the same. And I think that sort of ability to share and work with each other is at the foundation of what makes Calgary not only successful, but resilient. We bounce back because we want to, and also because our team says we're going to. And we find new ways and new industries and new tools to how to make that work. But at the essence of it, it's people. And it's like I was blessed by meeting some names I shared earlier, but every single one of them said, Kevin, spend your time on your business for sure and your family, but add to the community, and the community will never let you down. And in my 30 years here, it's been that. The community has never let me down. When I've had a high or I've had a low, they've made sure I've found a balance between the two.
So through your business, this is all your experience. So when you are attracting and recruiting people, walk me through pitch me Calgary. If somebody's out in Toronto and you want to attract them for a business here, and you know how everybody talks about Calgary sometimes, we're all cowboys. And
I'll put a picture in my head. I'll let the person's name not share into this, but it's a true story about bringing in someone here from Toronto that had not lived here. So it's easier if someone's already lived here. because they get the experience. But back to, as I said, with Xerox training, what I want to do is understand the person. I'm not pitching them on a job. I want to understand who they are and where they're at in their time in their life. So, what's their current situation? Where do they see their growth opportunities? What's important to them? Talk to me about your family and your where is that at? And then as you get through a couple of those chats, you get to learn that people not only have, growth ideas for their career, but they're also more family valued. And I find that's also changed since the pandemic. There's more of that. People are worried about elder care. They're worried about their kids. They're worried about where they live and all of those things. So, but when you understand sort of the need for somebody to come, you talk about the opportunity to be one of the leaders and not one of the followers. You get the opportunity to shape not just the business or the industry that we're putting them in, but the community. And that if they so desire and you break it out to them, you hear more often than not that people still have this board expectation. They want to add. And you explain that this is the town that you can not only do your job, but you can influence what happens in other ways. And that, we can help make that network a connection. And in this one case I'm thinking about, we did talk to the mayor and we did talk to the school board and we found out what the person's spouse wanted to do in their career and we made that network. And then I was able to get realtors for free to help tour people around this great city. Not that I was pitching it, they got to help share with this couple what they wanted to see within their family and the types of things. And then, of course, those big rocks to the west of us are a pretty good selling point from someone from Toronto. I think that culturally, we are on top of the world. Like we've got everything from what's going on downtown, all the way to the Stampede. We've got events, we've got pro sports, we've got, really whatever it is you want is here, but with the social fabric that we're still a community. And that gets a lot of people in their ascendancy of their career. And if you're corporately based, you're still in the second largest, market for head offices.
And we have one of the best airports ever.
Correct.
Oh my gosh!
I'm
in and
proud
out.
of it.
Yes,
I'm proud of it.
You should be. It's a pretty phenomenal feat, and
and you can get anywhere in the world from here within 24 hours, and that can't be said by a lot of cities. So I believe, are one of those international cities that punches above our weight and can even do more.
EIU recently said that Calgary tied for third top city when they're looking at recruitment and businesses and places to put things. So third top city, and they take in education, shelter, food, culture, medication. They take in everything. They take in. It's literally it takes in somewhat the entire system of what's going on in a city, the health of the city, and would it be a good place to open a business. We ended up ranking number 1 in North America. So do you feel that was earned? Do you think that was a good...
I think it is earned. I think that when you look at the complexity, and you made the comment, Calgary is one of the younger markets, which means that if you're looking at the essential part of whatever your business is, people, this is a great place to be. And if you're trying to be a global business, again, as we said, you can be anywhere in 24 hours. But it's the innovation, it's the motivation to help, it's the being able to be a part of a community that helps spur on other organizations. So I believe it is something that is earned, and quality of life is meaning a lot more to people. And so when you can add value to your work life, you can add value to your community, and you can support your family in a great way, it's great, as well as it's affordable. If you compare us to Vancouver or Toronto or New York or Chicago or any of these other major centers, Calgary is in a very good location, and it's a very good place to help sell people to. And once you get here, I think that you find that it is that warm, welcoming place. Of course, you ought to want to go out in it. And I think that that's where it's up to us as citizens to invite people to be a part of things.
Well, I always invite. I'm like going, anywhere I'm going, you're welcome to join me. And what I find really fascinating about Calgary, and this may be the same in other cities, I just don't live in those cities. We see all this stuff in the world around the influencers on social media. But the true influencers I have found in Calgary don't have social media accounts. They're too busy doing.
Yeah.
And so I would encourage everybody to, if you're listening, if you're thinking of coming to Calgary, lean in, check out, the all of the interviews here, because we really are looking for the right people to move here to help us grow this city to that next level, because with growth comes opportunity.
Right.
I'd love for you to close me out with, or close us out on your thoughts around the Petroleum Club, because you've been on the board.
Yep.
And it wasn't too long ago.
I was on the board when it was in trouble.
Yeah, well, and it wasn't too long ago that they didn't even have women's bathrooms. Mm-hmm. So walk me through, because I think the club is almost indicative of Calgary, right? Yeah. It really is. If we looked at it, we made this little petri dish. What's going on here is very much what we're seeing. Walk me through your experience here at the club and where you see it going.
Well, I think great cities have great gathering places. Mm-hmm. And I think the Petroleum Club is one of those, and it's in the dead center of Calgary. And what I have found about the Petroleum Club is that it is sort of celebrates the past, but it moves forward as to where we're going. And it needs to take stock of where its leadership is and what's happening within the community. So, you mentioned it about women not being a part of it. Well, that was way before my time. But some of the best leaders in this market are women. And so having them be members is adding to the diversity and the richness of what we're being. I'd also say the Petroleum Club is talking about the heritage of Calgary, but the heritage of Calgary is not just one industry. But the industry that was created and built Calgary, petroleum, continues to be an anchor force of it. So the CPC, or Petroleum Club, however you want to say it, provides that gathering place for all people to be able to come to, all generations, all genders, all ethnicities. And so what I find about the Petroleum Club is how welcoming it is and how easy it is to get connected to it. I also find that if I'm going to meet somebody for breakfast, this is the place you want to meet them. Because if you meet them, it's how much other work you can do because people see you there. And yeah. I've had people stop by and say, Kevin, we need to talk. I've got something for you to think about. Or I'll see somebody else and it's my brand and marketing. I'll walk around and say, hey, how you doing and where you're at. It shows the friendliness of the city, but it also shows how business is done. We're not far away from the handshake deal that says, yeah, you're my guy or you're my lady and I want to work with you. So the P Club is one of those things that I think if you can take advantage of it, you use the services, the friendliness of it will help you gain both personally, corporately, and financially, because it will become one of those key things you want to use.
I would say, if I was to sum you up in one word, Kevin, I would say that you are definitely a collaborator. You love working with other people, and it shines through in everything that you've done. And this has been one of my favorite conversations. I want you to know that.
I appreciate it.
You're incredible, and I really do appreciate your time. I appreciate
the invitation. This is a great thing for the P Club and for us to do. But the more we can share lessons and stories, and I think the better off we all are, whether it's formally or informally. But I think it makes a big difference for everybody. As we come out of the pandemic, if we're not sharing those experiences, we're just going to get locked in again. And that's the worst thing that could happen.
I agree 100%. You are incredible. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
The world is changing, and it's happening faster than ever. Businesses and people are adapting, but nobody can do it alone. Maybe it's easier for Burnett, Duckworth, and Palmer to keep up because they have always been nimble and brought creative thinking to the way they practice the law. BD&P best understands your industry and your business because Calgary is their home too. They're not just legal advisors, they are true partners. They've been called unconventional, and they think that makes the firm better partners to their clients for now and for the future. Meet your legal match at bdplaw.com. Your partners for a brilliant future.
Thank you for joining us today on the Back to Business podcast. Be sure to visit calpeteclub.com, CALPETECLUB.com, to find out more about upcoming events, networking opportunities, and membership. If you are not already a valued member at the CPC, where we are proudly connecting and supporting Calgary's business leaders.